Ready. Your Excellency.
Hello, good afternoon, kid. How are you?
Fine, thank you, Ma. Honestly, I must say it's a real pleasure to have you on. Someone with your status can really help drive the message that I'm trying to drive across, not just Nigeria, but really across the globe, especially with the young Black population and people who are really going through a silent killer and sometimes don't know where to go or who to look up to. So to have someone as yourself, as big as you, it's a real honor. And I know it's going to go a long way towards the cause. And by the way, which is a global cause. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here today.
Yes, I'm very happy to be here. Of course, I would be here. Farouk, Abdul, Malik, all of them say hi. I told them I'll be on. I sent them a message. I said, make sure you join.
Thank you. I must
so hopefully they're all here.
Yeah, I know. I think Abdul was coming. I've just seen him. But I must say, congratulations on the Peace Award, the Youth Peace Award that you got recently. That's really, really interesting. Sort of tell the viewers more about that.
Well, so there's the Africa Peace magazine, and this is a magazine sort of like a Nigerian or African magazine. They cover all African issues, but they're kind of based in the UK, but they come to Nigeria a lot. And I think, you know, they got to know about me mainly when I was a diplomat in the UK. And so they followed me from there. And even now as First Lady, they follow all my activities. So the Africa Peace Award was fantastic for my role with the youth and, you know, being able to project all these type of issues to the youth, to the young ones across Africa. And that's why I'm also here today with you, because it's very important to engage with the youth, to continue to move these conversations forward. So that was the Africa Peace Award, and I was very, very, you know, honored to receive it. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, I've been following a lot of your success and achievements during the time you've been First Lady, but one of them stuck to me. It's the Ajike People Support Center.
Yes.
I mean, it's all about empowering people through vocabulary skills. I mean, that really touched my heart, because I think one area that we do fail in Nigeria is really when it comes to having transferable skills to people so they can take that on and further their career. And the fact that you really sort of pioneered in that part is nothing short of spectacular. What made you decide to start that kind of initiative, and how's it going so far in terms of the success of it?
Well, you know, even as a young girl, you know, I always had this passion to give back, to give to people. Growing up in my household, my father was very generous to a fault. So there were always people, you know, streaming by that he would always help and everything. And then even after marriage, you know, I married into a very generous family. My mother-in-law is amazing. Her house is full from morning, from daybreak even. And, you know, they're always constantly giving. And as First Lady, I thought, how do I, because it's very, you know, I've been a diplomat now for almost 29 years, and it's very easy to be in the government mode, you know, and doing things that way, which impact, but they impact a little bit, sometimes a bit remotely, because you're there making the laws, you know, making all the suggestions, trying to put together partnerships and things, but sometimes people don't actually see you face to face and know that you are the one actually behind those initiatives. So starting up the Ajike People Support Center was very key for me, because this way people see the face, they see the fact that I'm the one directly behind these projects coming to them. And then, you know, you have a one-on-one conversation with people. I have an open door policy, so it's very easy for people to reach me and to be able to talk to me and do things. And, you know, I'm very happy with what I've been able to do with the youth. The skills acquisition that you mentioned is very key, and especially with the topic that we have at hand today, you know, mental health and things like that. A lot of people these issues are, things that become unhealthy when they have nothing to do, the idle mind, so to speak. So it was very important to have this platform to be able to give back directly. And the skills acquisition, we train people in all manner of vocations, because it's not everybody that will go to university. Yeah. Or even some people, I even had people who've been to university who wanted to learn an extra skill, and they would come to the center and talk to my staff, and we would put them forward for one skills acquisition program or the other. We've done so many things in ashoke making. In Kwara, they call it ashofi. So that's textile. We've done things with makeup and makeover, because a lot of people from the creative industries, I notice now, are very in need of these set of skills to be able to impact, wherever they are. So we've done makeup and makeover. We've done baking and confectionery. We've done, those that go to the market to, the pepper grinders. We've done so many others. And right now I have a partnership with one of the banks. This is to establish POSs across the state, and give people POSs across the state. And so they start their own little businesses in collaboration with the bank. And then, all the people that I see in our remand centers, in the mental health institutions and things like that, I've given donations, and I've given a few other things to help them back on their feet. Because, there's one thing we're going to talk about, and, mental health is about keeping yourself well, and then some people who have mental illness, which is different from mental health, really, you need to look out for them. And when they're back on their feet, what do they do? Because sometimes a lot of them have really stumbled, and you've got to help them back on their feet. So Ajike People's Support Center is all over these things. And I know we've been trying to have 1 or 2 collaborations in the last year. I'm glad we're finally getting it off the ground with this conversation this afternoon. And I'm sure we'll do more things together going on from here.
I mean, it's really brilliant. Like I said, there's one thing speaking about mental health with these kind of platforms. Then it's another thing actually having, like you said, these centers where people can actually put into practice what we speak about a lot. And mental health really is about, it's physical. It's about somebody being there to say to you, I understand what you're going through. I'm here to help you. Talk to me, let me guide you. Speaking on the phone to someone is very different to being face-to-face with somebody. And I think it's very important for Nigerians, especially the ones in power, to understand that when it comes to addressing mental health, we need to be there in person to actually, first of all, acknowledge the fact that it's there, and secondly, really want to help, and not just by speaking from far away, but like what you're clearly doing, but by creating these centers and actually being there and being face to face with them. So that's fantastic. Now, when I start any of my conversations, I always ask one very open kind of question, and it's like, when was the last time somebody asked you how your mental health is?
Yes, honestly, that's such a pertinent question. And it's important. People need to ask us more often, because, being in the public eye is a pressure on its own. Public speaking is a pressure on its own. Being, as they call us, the mothers of the state, is a pressure on its own. So all these pressures do come together, and it's very nice if somebody will stop once in a while and say, how are you doing? This is, how are you and how are you doing? The pressures are immense. People call you every day from daybreak, like 4 a.m., to ask for help in various different ways, But you will agree with me that issues of mental health, are seldom discussed, openly, especially in a society like ours. And the single most important aspect of one's well-being is mental health. But we hardly allude to it, more so asking about one's mental health, even if it is, just to say, oh, how are you doing, is a little bit difficult for Nigerians. or, you know, some people completely insinuate that, you know, maybe, oh, do you think there's something wrong with me? Or, you know, we skate around the issue very, very, very gingerly in Nigeria. And we need to kind of mainstream this conversation and make it, you know, something that is discussed widely. If you go anywhere around the world now, mindfulness and wellness are things that people take on, you know, assiduously every day. Everybody checks on themselves to see about their mental health. Everybody joins their apps, you know, there are places you can go to talk to people. But, you know, coming back again to me, I don't know when last anyone has asked me, how is your mental health? I think they would probably be too worried that it might be.
But that's a problem. I mean, that actually breaks my heart because you're a human being as well. And if the thing is this: when people look at me and look at people in our social statuses, they assume, well, we're gods. They assume we don't have feelings. They assume that we don't go through anything. And that is one of the problems and causes of mental health. And it becomes a really vicious cycle that goes round and round and round. And it's almost like, let's say, you know, it's almost like, you know, you have a village, and let's say half of the village is wealthy and half of the village is suffering. Now, the ones that are suffering, they assume the ones who are wealthy don't go through any mental health. Now, when the wealthy have kids, they assume those kids won't go through any mental health. And what you're doing is that you're basically filtering back into society an idea that mental health is only for certain types of people. It's really, really vicious cycle that we need to just kind of understand that that's not how mental health works. You know, God created us, all of us equal, and, you know, we're human beings, we have emotions, we have feelings, and we really need to get that idea out of everyone's head that mental health only affects a certain amount of people. It affects all of us, and the more we speak about it, the
it
more
affects. I think people need to understand also that people in the public eye are quite, you know, vulnerable.
The most vulnerable, yeah, sometimes.
Mental health, like I just said, public speaking. You really need to find the courage to do public speaking, to perform publicly, to address 500,000 people, to, you know, to come out and be, as you were, on a TV show that's, you know, being programmed to millions of people. You've got to really be mentally prepared for those things. Some people aren't, and some people feel the effects later. And this is sometimes what we call delayed reaction to certain things. And it's always important that you go in, and that's why they teach us coping mechanisms. Before you go out to speak publicly, you know, people tell you to adopt certain strategies, deep breathing, you know, you focus on a certain part of the wall behind you. You try not to look at the crowd. You know, there's so many coping mechanisms and skills that make us better able to cope. But that's if you go out and learn. One shouldn't go out unprepared into these type of fields. You should really definitely learn. And like you said, it's not one class or the other that's prone to mental health issues. It cuts across everybody. That you have people that are robust, you have people that are sensitive, you have people that are extroverts, you have people that are introverts, and everybody needs to know their personality type and not push yourself too much to the point where you have a breakdown, because when you have a breakdown, then you have problems with your mental health. So mental health, wellness, you know, wellness checks, mindfulness is something we need to mainstream in Nigeria.
Absolutely, well said. I mean, the key word there is really mainstream. We absolutely need to mainstream the same things they do in the Western world. I mean, look, if you Google mental health in UK, you will find so many facilities, so many centers. It's become such a normal thing now that it really comes in everyday conversations with friends. People will say to their bosses at work, "Oh, I'm going through some mental health. I need some time off." The bosses will say, "Yeah, no, don't worry. Take as much time as you need. Come back healthy." You know, I'm pretty sure you tell your boss in Nigeria, you know, I'm going through mental health, you get a completely different reaction. So I love the word you use there, mainstream, absolutely. Do you feel like women
someone's comment here who said you need to introduce her again or pin who she is. Not everyone knows who she is. I live in the UK and therefore do not know. It would be nice to know. So
I'm sorry. Do you want to?
you have an international audience. Not everybody would know who you're speaking to.
Well, guys, well, listen, today's a very special day, probably one of the most special days for me. I'm speaking to Your Excellency, First Lady of Kwara State, and also international superstar. She's been doing diplomatic work for a very, very long time, and someone I've known since I was pretty much a kid and a baby. So it's a real honor. And yeah, guys, throughout the conversation, I will try and introduce again for those who are joining in late. Thank you. Do you feel like women, especially in politics, have to be really, really strong and tough and sometimes almost neglect what their mental state is? Because, you know, when they see their counterparts, men stand up on stage and, you know, they rule their iron fist, they come with all the big words, they come with all the aesthetics, and all the people watching look at them and think, yeah, that is a leader, that's a real man. Then when they see a woman who step in to do the same job, they kind of, it's like they almost expect you to fail. They expect you to break somehow. We all know women are the most, you know, most powerful and the strongest people on this earth. My question is, do you feel like women hide their mental emotions more when it comes to politics?
Well, that's a very pertinent question. And, you know, I will kind of give the example of Nigeria. We're still, you know, sort of like trying to get more women into the public spaces in Nigeria. Like you said, I've been a diplomat, I've worked internationally for a very long time, and I've seen women and women ambassadors. I'm a woman ambassador, and I've seen what they can do and what they achieve. And in other public spheres, I'm a first lady as well now, and we have something that we've put together called the Nigerian Governors' Wives Nigerian Governors' Wives Forum. We started it off as Nigerian Governors' Wives Against Gender-Based Violence.
Yes.
In response to what was happening during the pandemic, where there was a rise in gender-based violence during that time, and we managed to become a pressure group to push for a state of emergency to be declared on gender-based violence issues in Nigeria. So we started off that way as Nigerian Governors' Wives Against Gender-Based Violence, but then now became the Nigerian Governors' Wives Forum. And we treat this issue, you know, very, very well. We now make sure that we see the office of the First Lady as, you know, very important, contributing to the state and making sure that things work the way, and even, you know, making sure that the vision of the governor is broadened in a much bigger way than, you know, can be done by other people. And we take on our own advocacies as well. You just mentioned the Ajike People Support Center. And like that, you know, cascading down from the federal level to the state level, to the local government levels, to all the other groups, to the parties, to the wards and everything. So I'm happy that we now have a lot more women coming on board. What we have in Kwara is unprecedented, where the governor had, you know, a cabinet that had more women than men.
Yeah.
He had 50.25% women and 52.65% women. And so women were more than men. And then across the board, we have 50% women, you know, 50% permanent secretaries, 50% women across the state civil service and things like that. So you can see that Kwara State is quite unprecedented, you know, in doing this, but other states are now catching up as well. And, you know, they are making sure that women really come into governance. If you look at it, you know, I don't really think women have that sort of problem with mental health issues, really, because women have always been taught and brought up to multitask. So they take on quite a lot. If you look at the role of the average woman in your life, or the role of the average woman in society, they take on a lot. through Ajike People Support Center, I've, mentored and groomed a lot of women and young, students and things like that. And, you see the women doing 2, 3, 4 things at the same time.
Yeah.
She has a job in school. She has she has to take care of her younger ones. She has to do a lot of things. So I'm not sure that we see that there are big issues concerning mental health. The only problem is the socialization of politics towards men and men's habits. For instance, if you call for a meeting at say 12 midnight, it's likely that you won't see the women attend the meeting because, a lot of them are at home, their mothers, they care for their family, they have the burden. We still have a society where primarily the woman is the homemaker. So when you have a situation whereby things are socialized towards men and men's habits, that's where you see that the women have 1 or 2 problems. But other than that, when it comes to, delivering things, making promises and trying to get these things done, I think the women are front and center of all these things and they achieve their aims. But, like I said, it's the socialization of politics towards men's habits that we now need to look at to be sure that women can really be part of it in a way that suits them and their lifestyle as well.
Absolutely. I mean, as a mother of 3 boys who I all grew up with, how do, and this is more of an advice to mothers out there, how do you get mothers to kind of get their children to open up to them when it comes to sensitive things like mental illness? Because it's for me, and I'll speak from my experience, I couldn't personally open up to my mum and my dad or my uncles. As you know, I come from a very strong male-dominated family, and I couldn't just sit there in front of my dad and say, "Dad, I'm going through this." Now, it's not his fault. Maybe it's more of my fault or whatever. But how do you get parents in general just to connect with their children when it comes to mental health?
Yeah, that is indeed a big issue now in Nigeria. And then I will also, say that how do parents also open up to their children? It's not a
Yes,
one-way conversation.
absolutely, yeah.
Study your children and see if you notice any new habits, anything. If a child or an adolescent child or even a younger child or even a young adult is suddenly quiet, is suddenly changing patterns and their way of life, you need to be in there and talk to them. You need to engage them. We know a lot of people do not talk. And then you have a lot of people who have high functioning depression and high functioning mental health issues where you cannot tell that there's anything wrong with them. So, but, this is where our culture helps, whereby, we have communal settings. Like you said, you couldn't open up to your uncle, or you mentioned immediately your uncle. So you didn't immediately look at the nuclear family. You went further than that and thought about uncles and aunts, grandparents, and
Yeah.
Some children find it easier to talk to an outsider who isn't really directly related to what is going on. They feel less pressure to open up to such people. And I think, we need to encourage young people that, listen, it's whoever you can talk to. Just reach out to someone. If you feel, oh my goodness, I don't think I can talk to my parents about this, just reach out to the person that comes to your mind, because the important thing is to talk about it. The more silent you get, the more that you withdraw, the more that you don't talk about these things, I think the more it becomes a problem. So whoever it is, I don't think any parent would be worried about whoever their child can talk to. I think any parent would thank that person for being able to reach the child, even in places where they couldn't. We know we're all busy, we're all taking 19 to the dozen tasks at the same time. We're all doing 2, 3, 4 things. We all have 4 or 5 different roles, but it's important to keep that communal spirit. When the boys were younger, you asked about you guys. You guys used to always see that I had home events where, you know, I wanted to see everybody in the house.
Yeah.
Because I used to know who your children are hanging out with. So the barbecues that the boys used to have, the little events that they used to bring everybody home to, I think they were very important, because that way you, and I love the fact that they didn't mind me being around. I wasn't chopped out and said and told mommy you can't attend. So, you know, it makes it easier to observe your children and observe what is going on. We shouldn't have totally separate lives whereby we don't know one another, we don't know what's going on in our children's lives, and they do not know what's going on in our lives. I think there is a danger in public life, especially sometimes, not to have the family around, not to have the children involved, and not to have, you know, your family around you. And I think it's a dangerous thing, because it's important to have them at those functions. It's important to have them at those events. It's important for them to sit and study, because don't forget that parents are the first people that children study to decide what they want to do with their lives.
Absolutely.
They look at you for mentorship. They look at you for all sorts of things. So you can't cut them out of your life. It's important that your children are there, right front and center, and they know what's going on, and they're part of what you're doing, because, you know, that way you can reach them easily if there's anything going on. It's not too late. So, you know, for all of you, the boys and yourself, and all of you, the youngsters, that were always very, you know, kind to come to the house and hang out with us, I think that's where it's key. Start conversations, be part of what the children are doing. You know, try it. I even try and play PS5 sometimes, you know, to sit with the and try and talk and say, okay, what's going on here? I ask for advice from you guys. You all know this. And I have a very youth-centric approach to how I do my things. I always ask the opinion of you guys, you know, you, the younger ones, my sons, yourselves, and all of you. I ask you what you think, and you all give me your answers as to how you think I should go forward. And I really consider it, because if you look back, we've had presidents who have been presidents at the age of 28. We've had people who've been governors at the age of, 32, 33. So you guys are right there already. You are at the right age where we should start to listen to you and, have your input in all what we do. So that is what I'd like to advise both young people and their parents on, how to make sure you don't lose each other. Make sure you listen to one another. Make sure you find avenues to talk, even if it's at the dining table, or you go out somewhere, or you just talk wherever you may be, and find out how you're all doing. Like the way you started this Instagram live, you said, when was the last time someone asked me, how is your mental health? We need to ask those questions and make sure that people are making the right decisions.
What do you think? I feel like, do you think culture kind of blocks that? Because we're so respectful in Nigeria, and I love culture. Of course, I'm from Nigeria, and Africa, we have culture. But I feel like we are now afraid to be honest with our elders, because everything is like, what on, ma, what on, sir? And you can't, you're afraid to say the next thing about, oh, I'm going through this, or can I speak to you outside about something? It's like that fear, and I've gone through that as well. How do we actually get that relationship with our uncles, our aunties, our elders? How do we actually do that?
I think most young people will find out that these parents that you think you're afraid of, or your uncles or your aunties, honestly, you really shouldn't. A lot of the time, all just mere babies behind that facade of a strong face or something. If you just blurt something out, you will see they would laugh. They would meet you at your level. They would talk to you. Or if they can't, some will shove you and say, go and talk to your mother. Or some would, if they don't have the capacity to do it, but they would probably answer you in such a way that you'd be shocked at their answer.
Yeah.
You will be really surprised. So what I'd like to say is the young people are out there. They have millions and millions of followers. You're not afraid to speak online. You're not afraid to speak to people. You should not be afraid to speak to your parents or your guardians or the people in your family or whoever it may be. You should not be afraid to speak to me. I have a very youthful following in Kwara, and they call me all the time. They call me up, sometimes a bit much because, I can't answer. My phone is going 19 to the dozen. But it's important that they feel that they can actually call. And I think that is where you do it. Just pick up the phone and call someone, or pick up the phone and, and ask your friend, because it shouldn't just be parent to child. I think between one another as well, we know we talk a lot about peer group and peer pressure. And, it's important to also watch who you hang out with and the kind of pressures and peer groups that you're exposed to on a daily basis. Because you need people who motivate you, who would look out for you, and who would make sure that your mental health is good.
Absolutely. I mean, just a few more questions. I mean, I would love to ask more, but I know you're very busy and the viewers are loving this. What is your heart-to-heart message to all the men and women who are just suffering in silence?
Well, for those suffering in silence, like we said, earlier on, there are a lot of people who are introverts, and there are a lot of people who are extroverts, but when they have problems and things weighing on their mind, then they become a little bit silent. So all I would like to say is it's very important to reach out. Nobody would know, especially those who are high functioning. We have a lot of people who have high functioning depression, a lot of people who are, who have one or two mental issues, but you could never tell, but they keep it quiet. It's important to be out there and to speak to someone. Just reach out in any way you can, even if it's by sign language. I won't speak of someone, but I know someone who now signs, does nonverbal communication in a certain way, would just, do something like this or like that all evening. And, just to kind of let you know that I'm not feeling okay, and that is why we need to be mindful of everyone around us and look at them closely. I know some of the time we have very busy schedules, but it's important to look around you and look at people's expressions and look for that, that far away expression in someone's eyes, or somebody who looks lost, or somebody who, is just quiet and looks.
Who's been different? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just different. Yeah, you need to look out for that. So those who are suffering in silence, I need to tell them that they need to reach out in one way or the other. Even if it's, I don't know, I saw something yesterday. I don't know if everybody saw it. Actress, I hope it's okay to mention this, but it was live on her Instagram and reposted everywhere. Actress Tandy Newton, apologizing for a lot of things. A lot of things in her past about how, in the US about colorism and, and all these kind of issues, and broke down crying and asking for forgiveness and things like that. So that is a cry for help. And, and I hope everybody around her stands up to that and tries to, give her a shoulder to lean on and gets her the required help. So this sort of, nobody should be shy, even if it's on social media that you put out a post and everybody sees that, hang on, this isn't okay.
Yeah.
Let's normalize reaching out. Let's not keep quiet. If you see something going wrong somewhere, let's reach out. So if you see somebody doing something a little bit odd, let's reach out and try to save people before it's too late. Exactly. I know you saw the lady who jumped to her death recently.
Yes. Yeah.
Miss America 2019.
Yeah.
You know, I would like to also cite some local examples for us. You know, I went to a Trado psychiatric center in Kwara, and you know, I saw a young man completely speaking the Queen's English, very polite, amazingly well spoken. I went and delivered a speech and gave them some gifts because the man is so good. He picks up people off the streets and, you know, uses all kinds of methods to get them back on their feet. A lot of them are, you know, have mental health issues. And this boy at 19 spoke to me in the Queen's English. And I'm like, what are you doing here? And he said, well, you know, I started on drugs. And this is why, you know, suddenly I lost it. And this man was so kind to pick me up. They couldn't help me at home. And he's now helping me. And this is why I also need us to draw the link between mental health and drug use and drug abuse. And I think people need to be very wary. Some people may socially abuse drugs and you think nothing happens to them, and somebody else takes it once and, you know, it's totally off their heads.
Yeah.
So we need to appeal. Yesterday we had, as the Nigerian Governors Wives Forum, we had a meeting with the chair of the NDLEA in Nigeria, that's the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency. And I am the matron of the Drug Eradication Committee in Kwara State. And you know, this is something we are doing now in addition to helping. You don't help mental health issues in isolation. You've got to look at all the issues that surround it. You know, domestic abuse is a problem. Drug abuse is a problem. So all the attendant things that surround this issue of trying to deal with mental problems is something that we need to look at. So that's what we are working on completely. And I'm so glad that the President, Muhammadu Buhari, you know, decided that, made the announcement in September 2021 that there would be a psychiatric center located in Kwara State to serve the North Central. We're looking forward to this being up and running very soon to help more people. We have a center now in a place called Sabo Egba in Kwara, and people now come from other states and drop people off there because they know in Kwara State there's a real big push for helping people with mental health issues. So we actually get people from other states bringing people there. We have 9 psychiatric hospitals in Nigeria, and I think we need to have more. And I think this is something we need to also talk about. We now have state-of-the-art centers dealing with cancer care. Today is World Day Against Cancer, by the way, the World Cancer Day. Yes. So we are celebrating that. And today is also the World Day of Fraternity, which was launched last year by the United Nations. So today is actually a good day for us to be talking about mental health, because fraternity is what we're touting to help, to stem mental health issues. When you have friends and you have caring friends, it's very highly likely that they will help you through any mental health issues that you may have. Yeah. So, a few more statistics are available on what we have, which I think is so important to read out so that we start thinking about tasking ourselves on how we can make better provision for mental health in Nigeria. The WHO says that we have 1 in 4 Nigerians, an average of 50 million people suffering from a mental illness. That's, like I said, an average of 1 in 4 Nigerians, or 25% of a 206 million population. That's a lot of people.
That is incredible.
That's a lot of people. The lifetime prevalence of schizophrenia is about 1% globally, and Nigeria is inclusive of this. The prevalence of depression varies between 2.5% and 5%. Nigeria has Africa's highest rate of depression. It has the highest caseload, and that makes Nigeria to rank 5th in the world. And the frequency of suicide in Nigeria ranks us at 15th. So this is very worrying. And I'm very happy that you've taken on this advocacy, Kid, because we have to do a lot to make sure these statistics come down. Substance use disorder is on the rise in Nigeria. And like I told you, we were with the chair of the NDLEA, Brigadier General Buba Marwa, with the Nigerian Governors' Wives Forum. Our chair is the First Lady of Ekiti State, Her Excellency Bisi Fayemi. I am the Secretary of the Nigerian Governors' Wives Forum. Substance use disorder, like I said, is on the rise, and we have to stem it. There's hardly any home without a person taking alcohol, abusing alcohol, because there's a difference between taking alcohol and abusing it, or other psychoactive drugs. Despite the enormous mental health challenge, there are less than 200 psychiatrists, and other mental health workers are in short supply. So we'd like to appeal to youngsters who are in the medical field for a lot of them to take up psychiatry, psychotherapy, and all these other things as their majors in university. Nigeria currently has, like I said, 9 psychiatrist hospitals, and the one in Budu Egba in Kwara is the 9th. The mental health problem is further worsened by prevailing security and economic problems in Nigeria. Like when you don't have a job, you don't have anything that you're doing, and this is why we're doing the skills acquisition in IGK People Support Center, because we need to encourage more youth to become self-sufficient. Don't necessarily wait for a job to be handed to you. Try and create jobs. And like I said earlier, please, 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 let us mainstream wellness and everything that has to do with mental health and mental wellness. And like I said, mindfulness.
Your Excellency, that was amazing. I think one of my other questions was going to be, what does kwara do more to tackle this? But I think you guys already proved that you are
yes. Honestly, like I said, I'm the governor is the patron, and I'm the matron of the Drug Eradication Committee. We have everybody in there from the NDLEA, that's the Law Drug Enforcement Agency, to all stakeholders, to traditional leaders, because it's the traditional rulers that help us get to the grassroots and the local government. And everybody, we're all involved. Everybody is trying their best in Kwara to make sure that our youth, are spared any of these problems.
Amazing. I mean, that honestly, it makes my heart wholesome knowing that you're doing everything you can to really address this issue, and not just talking about it, but you've actually gone and done physical things about it. So I know that a lot of the viewers will be happy about that, and I'm very happy. So thank you on behalf of everybody for addressing this and actually doing something about it.
Thank you.
My last question off mental health. As we all know, the elections is up and coming, arguably one of our most important elections. A lot of the people feel they can't really trust the Nigerian system and probably won't be voting or getting their PVCs. What is your advice to people who feel that way?
Well, to young people who feel disillusioned by one thing or the other, or processes and procedures and things like that, I'd like them to know that you can only really make effective change from the inside. A lot of people can do a few things from the outside, but it's very important to have your voice heard. If you all do not participate, if you do not get your PVCs, if you do not vote, if you don't, then you deserve whatever government you have in place, because you cannot not participate and then expect things to go your way.
Yeah.
Your voice needs to be heard. People need to know what are your core priorities. You need to put certain people forward, and you need to look amongst your peer groups. And it's not everybody that would be good in governance. You can look at a group of 10 of you and say, oh my God, I can't do it, but he can do it. So let's all get together and put him forward. So, you need to do that. we need to remember that, like I said earlier, a lot of people were in government at the age of 20. We had ambassadors in the First Republic that were 22, 28, 30 and there. So you need to understand that we've had statesmen who have been very young. And there's no reason why we can't have the youth involved in state and state making. You cannot fold your hands and be aloof. That's not the way to go. I don't think so. And I already told you, we have a youth-centered policy in Kwara State. The governor appointed the former commissioner on youth and sports in Kwara State, was the youngest commissioner in Nigeria. She was appointed at 26 years old and became 27 while she was in government. She's now been changed and she's now doing a master's program in the UK and to further herself, and obviously she's going to come back and contribute later. And even now, a lot of the, we have a senior special assistant on youth engagement who is also in her 20s. I think Kausara is 24, 25. So the youth are already there, and you need to engage in your state. The only thing I would like to say about the young people is that a lot of them are based in the urban areas and therefore maybe have lost touch with their states. A lot of the time you need to contribute at state level. I mean, it's not everybody who would be involved at the federal level. So you need to be involved in your states and see what's going on in your states and get involved that way. I mean, you can't, you won't be, you can be employed as an advisor or things like that, but for appointments, core appointments, it's usually from that state. So if you want to become a commissioner, and whatever, you have to be known to your local government. You have to be known. Yeah, you have to be known there. Yeah, you have to be known because they need to be able to connect with you, to be able to tell you what their problems are, so that you can fully represent them. So that's why I want to tell the youth, don't be far away from, the grassroots. Like I said earlier, I grew up in a household where people were always streaming in, and my dad was so generous and helping people on their feet. So he connected to the grassroots. And you need to connect to the grassroots to be able to make a difference. And those are you hear a lot from them as well. You hear a lot from them.
You do.
And then we in government, we're on radio a lot because the grassroots, they listen to the radio. And, some of them may not have television sets, but they have the odd radio set in the house. So, if you go online and you say a few things and, they would come back to you through one of your constituents to tell you, oh, this is what they think about what you said. So please engage. Please get to know who is representing you. Write letters. Don't be shy. I receive letters every day from far and wide from outside of the country. I was given awards recently by the ECOWAS Youth Council. So the average age range there is very young. They are all, early 20s or something like that to mid 20s and later. So there are various ways you can key into things going on. For every political organization, they have the youth wing. So join the youth wing and make yourself known. But it's important that we put this message across that you cannot make a difference sitting on the sidelines. Please get involved.
Okay. Final question. Your Excellency, what's next for you?
Oh, wow. I am still here. I remain in government. I am an ambassador, and I remain very open to taking government decisions and helping government prosper in this way. I'm a First Lady, and I look to continuing to being the First Lady of Kwara State and making waves in that way with all your help and doing so many things and, supporting my husband in everything that he's doing. I look forward to continuing my advocacies and making sure that we make Ajike People Support Center a worldwide brand that is well known around the world. So I think this is where I am at the moment. I thank everyone so far. I've been given 2 honorary doctorate degrees recently, And, you know, yes, so apart from ambassador, that's why I like to say I'm doctor. My honorary, my traditional titles as well, I will always put forward from time to time. And like I've just said here, try and know, you know, what's going on at every level. You know, your traditional rulers, try and know them. They do a lot for us. We get a lot done through them. They are in our gender-based committees, gender-based violence committees. They are in our mental health committees. They are in our drug abuse eradication committees. So please, you know, get involved. I look forward to receiving more letters, and I look forward to collaborating with you, the youth. I always do that anyway, so that we can do more wonderful things together. So this is what's next, you know, and let's go to the stratosphere, shouldn't we? We should.
I mean, I'm always, anything you need from me, I'll be more than happy to help. You're someone I admire. I look up to a lot. So, you know, if you need anything at all, you know, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Thank you so, so much. I've been so grateful. It's been wonderful to speak to you, and everyone's enjoyed it. God bless you, and thank you so much for giving me the time.
Thank you to everyone that tuned in. God bless you too, kid. My love to your parents.
Thank you, Ma. Thank you. Thank you, Ma. Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, so guys, yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. I've always said it's very, very important to speak to as many people as high up and as low down to really drive across this important issue of mental health. Now, the key word is always going to be normalize. Let's normalize asking people how they're doing mentally. Okay, so guys, I want to wish you all a great weekend. Have a wonderful day. And look, if you're suffering, reach out. Don't suffer in silence. Speak to your friends, speak to family, speak to anybody, send letters in, send me messages on my DM. I will try and reply to as many as I can. And as always, I promise you guys, I will always do my best to shine light on this very, very important topic. Also, this will be going on my YouTube, by the way. I will put on my YouTube the full video. So yeah, guys, God bless you. Have a great weekend and stay safe.